Welcome back to an episode here on the Heart and Hustle podcast. We have Miss Erin Sims in the building. Miss Erin, where are you located?
I am located in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Love it. Isn't it cool that we could just speak virtually like this? Like,
I
wow,
love
what a time
that.
we live in.
Yes, I was thinking about that today when I was just thinking about our conversation because my job is Louisiana, but our service is a national service. So, yeah, it's great to be able to talk about something that affects all of us no matter where we are.
And the organization being Via Link, let us know a little bit about what's your role with Via Link, as well as what is Via Link. So those that may be listening or watching.
Yeah, so I'm a licensed professional counselor by trade. So, used to work as a therapist, but V-Link is a crisis call center. So we answer 988 in Louisiana. There's two crisis call centers. We are the one for South Louisiana, and we take about 60% of the state's call volume. And we answer 988, which is the National Suicide Prevention Line. So you can call 988 no matter where you're at in the country, but every state runs the program a little bit differently. And so, yeah, you get connected with someone to talk about your mental health needs, help decide maybe next steps for you if you're wanting to get help for yourself or a loved one. But we also answer a lot of other lines in Louisiana, and the all of them get you back to a caring, real person who wants to talk about whatever's going on.
And this is no easy task, no easy job, Erin. This is not something that you say, I'm going to go to school to do this. How do you
Yes.
get there?
Yeah. I feel like everyone that I talk in advocacy work comes to it kind of from a unique path, I think. I have a background, like I said, in mental health counseling. That's what I thought I would be doing. I thought I would be talking to clients right now, having therapy sessions, like seeing people all day long. And when I started doing that, I just realized that naturally, my personality kind of thought to the macro. My mind went macro. It was hard for me to sit with a person who was experiencing a lot of similar problems to all the people that I was working with. And it was, the issues were systemic, but they were affecting individual people in such a deep way. And so that's what led me to advocacy. That's what led me to V-Link. And I think, even in the call center, there's no specific career that leads you into suicide prevention. There's no degree for that. There's, I think, a lot of life experiences. I have personal reasons to work in suicide prevention as well as professional. And I think that that's the case for a lot of people that work in the crisis call line. Sometimes it's people who are retired, who have had a lot of lived experience, or sometimes it's people who themselves have struggled with their mental health. And so I think people come to it from a lot of different ways. It's a unique job, both advocacy and working on the line. And I think it makes UV Link a really unique place to work that I think people like. I think that's it's an interesting mix of people who have kind of found themselves in a career that isn't a typical.
I had a couple questions, but we'll start with therapy. So therapy is something that growing up we didn't talk about. I actually just found out that my mom, I'm 36 years old, that my mom had therapy when or was going through therapy when we were younger. And it's something that we didn't even talk about at home, right? And so I was kind of telling her the last time I went was like 5 years ago. And I feel like as I'm growing in my business, like I need to go again. You know what I mean? Type ish. But I think some people just have this bad stigma on it for whatever been an experience that they didn't like. I always say it's like dating. You got to find the right one.
Yeah.
Some people just never had that conversation. They think that people are in their business or whatever. Like, what do you say to that, Aaron? You just having that knowledge about it. As you mentioned, you were going to be in this space,
Yeah.
and life took you somewhere else, but you didn't forget those. I can imagine those reasons why.
Totally. Yeah. I think when I think about therapy, there's two things that are important. And one of them is more important, and that's the relationship. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't feel that connection, like I can tell this person the hard stuff, the stuff that I don't maybe even want to say out loud for myself to have to hear, then it's not going to be helpful. And you kind of can think of it as wasting your time. I think that's a good way to think of it. Like, if I don't feel that connection, it's not a bad thing towards them,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we're wasting both of our time. Your therapist wants to help you with that issue, and you want to get help, right? So it's a good way to kind of relieve the pressure. Like, they want you to find a good fit too, and if they don't, then they're not the right therapist for you anyway. And then I think too, their approach, right? Like, how do they approach therapy? The types of models that that like the types of like theories that they might use. We say cognitive behavioral therapy is a really great therapy to teach people about the connections between their thoughts, their feelings, and then their behaviors. But some people who have had really extensive trauma in their life, that's not going to be enough, right? They're going to need something that goes a little bit to a deeper level. So yeah, you need to think about what have I experienced as a person? Like, what are the root issues, or what do I think I want out of therapy? And then finding a therapist that not only provides that type of therapy, that type of care that you're looking for, but that they give you like that vibe. Like, this is a good
Yeah.
feeling. I feel like I can be open with that person. So I think that's the two things that are important. And again, just give yourself permission to, like you said, or I think, or you might have said breaking up with the therapist. Like, it kind of can feel like that. It's like like your healthcare though. If you went and saw a doctor who made you feel really bad about yourself, or maybe said like, we're going to skip the blood work this year, who cares? Like, think about it that way. You wouldn't want care that doesn't meet your standards. Therapy is the same way. It can be hard, but also like working through the hardness of having to do that is good, I think, right? Like,
Yeah.
I have broken up with therapists, people have broken up with me. And I think as a therapist, I tell myself, like, how could I possibly help every client or be the right person for every client? Like, we know that, right? Like, we know that we are not the right therapist for every client. And also, we're not the magic ingredient, you are.
Hmm.
And so if your
Yeah.
therapist doesn't believe that, then like I said, it's not a good fit to start with, because it's about them, but it's less about them and it's more about you.
Yeah.
That would be
Erin,
my
I love that you said that. My therapist, I met her, I don't even know her name, but I know she was so good. Like, that's all I remember is that I remember going in there and being a faucet, and she
yeah,
just sat there and listened. I think, and a lot of times people may think that they're like telling you how to think or what to think, and it wasn't that experience for me. It was that she sat there and listened. She was a good listener, but she really just asked me questions that I had a lot of the answers to, but no one asked me in that way. So
totally.
when she's asking me in certain ways, I'm like, "Oh, wow," and at the it was just she was really good. Like, I just thought she was such a vibe, as you mentioned, the vibe. Because before that, I had a different experience, and I just felt like, it wasn't for me. And I really got there because my wife, like, shout out to all the women that just make you go do these things, right? Like, I just went to the doctor because my wife said, "You need to go do this," and now I'm in my head, so I went to go do it. But, she was the reason I went to therapy, because as we became new parents, and me adoption and sexual abuse, all these things start to really come back,
Yes. Hmm, totally.
realizing that, wait a minute, I gotta have this conversation with someone, and she just made me feel, man, so comfortable, and I told her some things that I probably didn't tell other people, you
Totally.
know?
Hmm.
So, no, I love that you were in that space, and I love the space that you're in as well. I mean, I think they play really hand in hand, to be
They
quite frank, right?
do. Totally. Advocacy is like counseling, like I said, on the macro, right? Like, you're taking the problems that a lot of us have and saying, okay, what can we do about that? Or who needs to be at the table? Because I think a lot of times when these things are being problem solved, it's not the right people at the table or the right stories. And I think that it was hard to know all of the stories that I would see play out in a school. I worked at a school in New Orleans as a counselor prior to working in advocacy, and then I supervised other mental health professionals in schools and across Louisiana. So even got
Mhm,
into some more rural areas of Louisiana where I realized, like, again, we are different but same, right? Like, everyone
mhm.
wants the same things for their kids at the end of the
Yeah,
day, and kids all want the same things. They might want them differently, or it might be different things, but everyone wants to succeed and be able to achieve their dreams and not have them crushed before their life even gets started. And so I think like that was something that really drove me into advocacy, is that like this is still helping people. I love to just hear people. I love to be with people in those like harder times and in those moments. Like, you, I went to counseling and have had loss early on in my life that led
mhm.
me to counseling. And I just think it's a privilege to get to be with people one on one. And it's also a privilege to get to be on a bigger scale, like advocacy and talking more about what people in Louisiana need. But I do think it's really connected. And like you said, everyone that comes into advocacy has some type of story. The only people that don't are I like to say lobbyists, and that's because their parents are usually lobbyists. So sorry, lobbyists, I'll throw some.
You know,
That's the
w
only kind, I'll say.
we we talk about this work, we talk about, just the leadership aspect, being an advocate. It becomes hard. It becomes hard work. while we like, I enjoy, and I always say, like, I selfishly get to learn every time I listen to conversations and stories like yours, Erin. But sometimes it becomes draining, and we have to ask ourselves the why. I can imagine that you have a story that reminds you of the why when those thoughts start to, pop in your head.
Mhm.
What is the story that really allows you to keep moving when the times do get tough?
Yeah, I do have a story that is one of my stories that I think about a lot. So I had been in a really frustrating meeting. I have a lot of stories about school. Like I see a lot of kids, but this story really sticks out to me. So this was maybe like 4 years ago. I got out of a very frustrating meeting in City Hall in New Orleans where it felt like we had been saying the same things over and over again and not really having some concerns listened to about mental health support in schools and
Mhm.
attendance. We have a horrible truancy problem in New Orleans. And so we were saying something has to be done, right? Like we need more. And it just felt like no one was listening. So I left the meeting and I was so frustrated. And I stepped out onto the street. This is downtown New Orleans. And I'm with one of our board members and I'm talking to her about how frustrated I am. And like, it was a moment where I was like, I feel done. Like, I feel like I could get in my car and be done with this. Like, I don't know what else to do. And a man on a bicycle stopped and said, Miss Erin. And I said, like totally caught me off guard. And it was a kid that I hadn't seen since sixth grade. And
Wow.
he was a man. He was a grown man. And he said, I knew it was you because of your eyes. And he said, what are you doing here? And I told him what I was doing. And we talked and we caught up and he told me he was riding back from his job. He worked on Canal Street in a restaurant and, I mean, it gives me chills right now. It makes me tear up all over right now. And so I told him what I was doing and he said, you don't work in a school anymore. And I said, no, this is what I do. And he said, well, I didn't know that was a job, but of course you would be the one doing it. And so I just think about him. I think about like you don't like working in a school, you plant seeds that you never get to see the tree grow, right? Like you don't get to see what happens to kids. And the kids that you do kind of, I feel like know what happens, it's normally bad, right? Like it's
Mhm.
not, it's the kids you see in the newspaper, unfortunately, or it's the kids that you see, you get a text from an old colleague about. So I just remember that day I left and I text all my teacher friends that I knew loved this kid because he was definitely a memorable kid and I was like, he's alive and he has a job. And I saw him in front of City Hall today. And this is where he's living and he's doing okay. And so I think that's the why, right? Like the why
Yeah.
is that like people do remember you, like the relationships you have matter. And even in a job that felt so frustrating, he didn't see that. He saw me as helpful. And so I think like remember who you show up for. Like, in a school, that was something I had to remind myself constantly. It's like I'm here for the kids, try to show up for them. And I think like I made myself proud in that moment because I think we can beat ourselves up. I'm a person that will think about all the things that went wrong.
Yeah.
So just to have that moment and to see a
I
kid
love it.
after that long, after such a horrible meeting was something I'll not ever forget.
I love it, and thank you for sharing that. I laugh a little because every time I see a teacher, right? I'm 36 years old now. This is almost 20 years ago, and they're just like, "Oh, I remember you," and I'm like, "Stop lying!" But Erin,
No,
you're
yeah,
mentioning
no,
that
you
no, for
don't
real.
forget them. You don't. I think too, like, a school is so interesting. Like, that's why I tell parents, like, we're where y'all drop all your kids off every day. So when you drop your kids off and you're like, whoo, like we took every kid on from
Yeah,
every parent that did that. So like you remember them. You might not
yeah,
always like remember their name, but you could remember the things they would do, their personality, their quirks. Like because that's what keeps you going and no one works in a school that doesn't love kids like that. They
yeah,
don't last if they don't.
yeah.
So
Well, I'll
yeah.
tell you a funny story. I had a teacher. He didn't last, but I had a teacher, and now as I'm older, I feel so bad. I feel like even when I tell the story, you're gonna be like, "No damn way." So I was definitely the asshole. Okay, and life was life. Like school was a place that I felt free and I could be myself. So unfortunately, he caught that. We were going to class, me and my best friend, and this guy was 23 years old, and I didn't realize that was really young. I'm 16, 17 years old. And we would sit here and battle this guy. And he was like, I'm not going to argue with you guys. I'm like, we're not going to argue with you, Mr. Chambers. Right. So he only lasted 2 years.
Right.
It is 10, 15 years I see this guy later at a restaurant, and he looks at me, I look at him, I said, "Holy crap, Mr. Che," I haven't seen this guy in years. He says, "Ephraim, you're the reason I quit teaching." I felt so bad, Erin, but it wasn't for him. If
Oh,
he couldn't deal with me, Erin, it was not for him.
totally.
But
Yeah.
as I sat here and one, I apologized to him, but I told him where I was at in my life and the things that I was going through in those moments. He was so appreciative of who I've become, and there's so many teachers that I even go back to and will say sorry to and just thank them for um, even though I was always in trouble, they knew that there was something going on, and they would always tell me, "Ephraim, you're not this kid. Like, what are you doing?" And I always catch myself in trouble, but it was people that see me for who I was. I go back to the old secretary that she's been at that school for 36 years as a secretary, though. And when she's leaving, I was, with her, and she's retiring. She said, "Ephraim, thank God you want to go do what it is that you love. Because not that I don't love this, but I feel like I'm leaving here, and I'm leaving with nothing." And I said, "That's not true. I'm one of those
Yeah.
kids that almost 20 years ago, she told me when my counselor told me that I might as well go to get a 9 to 5 job because school wasn't for me. That secretary told me, Ephraim, do never allow someone to tell you who you are and where you're going. Right? And this was so many years ago. Like, she didn't realize that she was fertilizing the future. She
Totally.
didn't know I was going to come back, and I tell her all the time, "You don't know the kids that you've touched, they haven't come back, but you truly either planted seeds or water seeds that you may never see come to life."
Totally.
So, Erin, it's you. It's the work that you do every single day of showing up, because it's not about you, but there's people that have experienced the things that you've experienced, either firsthand, secondhand, whatever that may look like, and, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And as that guy that you mentioned, he didn't know that, but that doesn't mean that after that, he's like, "Wait a minute, there's something like that? Maybe I should go, explore that," right, Aaron? You just don't know
Absolutely.
what you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think too, thinking about school, someone told me something early on that helped me is that kids will never be excited about school if they're not excited about their life. Like, you can't expect them to come in this building and, be really engaged in what's going on if life is not going well. And so I think that, it helps be curious is what I would say about people that work with kids. Like, if a kid is giving you hard, like you said, if you're the asshole kid, I love those kids because I feel like the worse a kid was in a class, the more intrigued I was because they were always smart. They were always hilarious. They always did really good one on one with adults. It was the classroom setting that tended to kind of, I would feel like
It was
spiral.
my platform, it was like my
Yeah,
stage.
totally. It's your stage. Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it's your safe space. And it's this, the person in the front office that makes it the safe space. It's the janitors, the people in the lunchroom. Like, those people are so critical to me because they do notice every kid. They're not lesson planning so they can be just more human with kids. And I think like you said, they're not always the people who maybe get the kids that come back or visit, but kids don't often do that. That's not, that isn't an expectation I had. But to be able to see a kid and feel like they, like you said, that you were just a positive person and a nice, at the end of the day, like, you just need to show up and be nice and witness. That's what I
Yep,
think I said that, like, be their witness. Like, yeah, that really sucks. Like, your friend was mean, or yeah, the test was hard and you made a bad grade. You're not doing anything other than
yeah,
giving back to them that their experience is real and it matters. That's what, if you think about what helps you calm down, what helps your brain regulate, what helps you get back on the ground, it usually is just a person listening, validating, and, kind of just sitting with you, letting you know you're
mhm,
not alone. There isn't much to do in bad moments other than
yeah,
that. So I think that, yeah, I love that about being in a school. That's so funny about your I mean, one of the things about being a school counselor is talk to a lot of teachers. When a kid's not in your office, it's a teacher that's in your office crying. And I think a lot of people come to teaching with just this idea of what it will be. And like you said, you have your own stuff and nothing, if you, being a parent brings out your own stuff, but kids in general bring out your
yeah,
own stuff. So I think working in a school can bring out the things in us that we've not worked on, and it can make us realize how sensitive our nervous system is, when maybe we didn't
his is
know
low
that about
sensitive, his
ourselves
is low
ahead of time.
sensitive.
I mean,
Um
people who like left school to go be doctors, but they would like they had the personality to be the doctor, but not a teacher. It's like, yeah, you're right. Just go be a doctor. You actually can't be a teacher. It's not for you.
Yeah.
And so, that's like you said, people who leave and do other things, and I think that's the right decision for them.
He ends up opening a law firm, and he's very successful, and he has so many people. So I was like, "This wasn't for you in no way.
Yeah,
Like, you didn't need to be here."
totally.
Um,
And maybe
it
you were the reason that he ended up
exactly, yeah.
different way to think about, like you like people that leave find what's for them and hopefully it's a path that's fulfilling. That's what matters.
Yeah, you just never know. You never know why it happens,
Yeah.
and see, he should thank me actually. Now
You
now that
should
I
get
think about
free
it.
representation. Like you should be like,
Yeah.
you are my like on call attorney. Like what is it called? Like on retainer.
Yep,
On
yep, yep.
retainer.
You know what's so cool, kinda to what we're talking about is that some of these kids that are your trouble kids that, not because 'cause they're not smart kids, as you mentioned, life be life in at home, and
Yes.
sometimes this is how they kind of almost act out or cry out per se. And, I barely graduated high school, Aaron. I think I may have told you this. I graduated 2.0. I remember the last day walking off campus, I was actually just going to receive a certificate of completion because I didn't pass one of the assessment tests. I could had care less. I did 12 years. I was done.
Right.
As I was walking off, that's when I found out, hey, you passed that standardized test. Cool, cool, cool. So I graduated, and I never really left the high school. I continued to come back to just be a mentor, just because I had really good teachers that I still had relationships with, and then I wanted to hand out during those times, like going to college, you needed a laptop. So I
Right.
wanted to make sure that people had laptops to go to school. So I handed out some of those, and I was just kind of doing that work. And then years later, I find myself on the board that I even know existed at my old high school, but I lead that organization now. And as I'm getting ready for this first event, it's kind of that rebrand. All I could think about is inviting all these teachers that were a part of that journey at that same
Mhm.
school so
Awesome.
they can see who Ephraim became. Because a lot of times, as you mentioned, you don't know what they become. But
Totally.
also, so the people in that room that are going to be donating that day realize like they can speak to these teachers on who I was. Was I the best kid? And I always say that I wasn't the best kid in school, but it goes to show that I had really good leaders in my life, and these teachers were it that allowed me to be here because they seen more in me than I seen in myself at that moment. So
Mhm.
kudos to you, Aaron, because the work that you do is not about, I always say it is not about the paycheck. It's truly about the passion and the purpose. So kudos for you, man. Give us a little bit more insight on what you guys are doing at Via Link. Like I see that you
Yeah.
guys are working with the youth. You guys are working in so many different spaces.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit more about our line. So, like I said, 988 is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Anywhere in America, the United States, that you call or text or chat 988, you will be connected with a real person who can assist in any type of emotional support, whether it be like, I need to vent, I'm feeling anxious, I need to get this off my chest, or a loved one I know is struggling with substance abuse issues and I don't know where to start, or I am experiencing suicidal ideation or thoughts and I don't know what to do. Any type of mental health concern, there is nothing too big or too small. So when you call in Louisiana, there's two call centers and Via Link is one of them. So we have, our call specialist is what we call them, and they work from home, much like a therapist would be, in a
Yeah.
private, confidential space on a very sophisticated computer setup that's way fancier than my VLink computer, that helps them get the calls. And then they just sit in their home, take the calls all day long. And to kind of give you an idea of what a call looks like, our average call is about 15 minutes. Only about 1% of the time do people actually need emergency services or request them. It's usually 99% of the time just talking, like how we said, like, the person that you kind of go in and it's like a
Mhm.
faucet. One of my colleagues always says, "Get the gunk out," and I love that because it's true, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes you just need to get it out. That helps our brain, and the science behind that is real. It's not just like, oh, people need to blow off steam. When we say that, we really mean your brain processes when you say out loud what's going on and name the feeling, name the things that are going on. That helps your brain understand and regulate and know what to do. And that's how we rewrite those panic moments, as we say, like, I can panic or I can do some of these strategies that I know identify what's going on with me and then decide what to do. It doesn't mean we're not going to panic. But it helps us calm down. It helps us reframe. It helps us decide like, yeah, some bad stuff is going on, but there's also some good stuff going on. And how do we stay safe for right now? So that's what 988 is. We have been operating it since it rolled out in 2022 with the Biden administration, which created the unified 988 number across the country. But we have been operating a suicide prevention hotline in Louisiana for about 30 years before that. So a while before that, because lines have always existed. This just helped unify us. So we also do teen text and the parent line in Louisiana. Those are both services available to anyone in Louisiana to call or text about the parent line, any type of parent concerns, referrals, just non-judgmental, again,
Yeah.
venting, having someone to talk to. Similar with the teen line, if you have questions or you're nervous to ask adults or don't know where to turn, you can text the Louisiana teen text line, anything about substance abuse, mental health, and you'll be connected with that caring person who can provide a listening ear. The services are available 24/7 every day of the year. There's never a time when you shouldn't be able to get in touch with us. And they're confidential. You don't have to tell us anything about yourself. They normally ask your zip code because that just helps us kind of understand where in the state callers are coming from. But you do not have, you can say no. Anything you want to
Hmm.
say no to, you're in the driver's seat. You are getting to tell us what's going on. And then it's our job to listen. And then if you want resources or referral information, we can do that too. But again, like I said, it can just be, I need to get it off my chest.
I was going to ask you, you talked about, the phones, but are you guys texting? And it seems like you guys are. So, I mean,
Yeah,
meeting people where they're at nowadays, right? You don't have to just call. You can text,
totally.
it seems.
Yeah, and even chat. Like if you are, have a computer, or a lot of people are, like being on a computer. So if you imagine like
Yeah.
you're on a website and the little chat box pops up, the same thing. If you go to our 988 website for Louisiana, you can chat from there. But yeah, texting has only gotten more and more popular. And over the last year, we've increased staff that can respond to text because of that, needing to have more staff who are trained in the nuances of the text aspects of it. And then additionally, we've been working with all the major cell phone providers. So the way that 988 works is not based on your area code, it's based on your geolocation. So the cell phone providers communicate to us who's in Louisiana. And so it doesn't matter if you have an area code that's out of state, you'll be able to talk to someone in the state that you're in and get resources that would be locally to where you're
Hmm.
at.
I love it. I love it. And as we start to wrap this up, because we're already in time here,
Of course.
I will be a disservice to everybody that's listening. You keep mentioning New Orleans. Can imagine the food is amazing. What is the where should we go eat when we go to New Orleans? I may actually be in New Orleans this fall, so let me know where I'm going to go eat.
Okay, yes. So you need to get a po' boy. That's to me kind of the thing that everyone should get. And there's a lot of variety to that, but I would say no matter what, you should get it with gravy and don't. You might be like, why are you saying that? Just make the note in your phone that no matter what type of po' boy you should get
Get the
gravy.
gravy.
Um, and so if you're in the French Quarter, I like Verdi Mart. It's kind of like a bodega that serves po' boys. But if you can get any po' boy, I like Parkway, and that's that's like where they came from. And so I would say you should go to Parkway for sure. I would say my favorite fine dining in New Orleans is a little off the beaten path. It's called Braggston's, and Frank Braggston is the chef. It's in the River Bend kind of area, which is by Audubon Park, which is not close to the French Quarter, but
Hmm.
still totally worth the visit. You can ride the streetcar from the French Quarter to Audubon Park. And yeah, it's like eating in someone's home and he comes out and talks to you. And so it's
I
just to
love it.
me kind of, he also offers a plate that's like a little bit of everything from the menu, which is just like everything I want from a restaurant because I want to try everything. That's what
Yeah,
I would say. Don't order like a big meal for yourself.
a
Tell the
sampler plate.
tell the people you're with we are eating each other's food because there's too much to try. So that's
That is
no matter
funny.
where you go, eat each other's food. And I like Braggston's for the like quintessential New Orleans fine dining experience and then get a po' boy, please. And a snowball. Well, you're here in the fall. If you're here and it's hot, you have to get a snowball. New Orleans has a million snowball places and they're like kind of again, a really classic New Orleans thing.
Lord, I'm definitely excited. Now I hear that all the time that New Orleans is a place to be and especially to eat. Born and raised in New Orleans?
I was born and raised in South Alabama, so about 2.5 hours from here. New Orleans was like where my parents would take me on the weekend. Because there's the zoo, the aquarium. New Orleans is like the closest big city to where I grew up close to Mobile, Alabama, in a small town called Foley. But yeah, I love New Orleans and just always, like you said, it's a cool place to be. I think that if you've never been, you'll love it. I know you will.
I love it. What do you tell yourself every day you wake up and you have such a positive attitude? You're just the smile, the happiness. What are you telling yourself every day to wake up to have this?
I think I just do have a lot of natural energy, I would say. So I feel like I like to do something with it. But I also have I tell people this, like, I'm a hard worker and I'm positive, but I can be pretty negative. Like my mindset is, like I told you, it's stuck to like think about what happened that was bad. So to me, like moving and doing and educating myself and literally just keep moving forward has been what's always helped me. Like if I'm feeling negative about something, an issue, then I'm just gonna do something. I'm not gonna sit there and think about it. That kind of, I've realized, makes me a little crazy. So I have to do something. And so whether it be call someone, whether it be reach out to that person via email, or whether it be even just like talk to my colleague, what do you think about this? So I think like there is a lot in advocacy to get down on, or there's a lot of defeat. Like you hear no so many times. And so I think I just kind of stay motivated by trying to solve the problem, getting like angry about the problem
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit, or being like, no, we're gonna do this. And so yeah, I think I try to channel my energy into not feeling down, but being motivated. And I think I had told you about my trash can method. I try at the end of the day to be like, what can I throw off of me to forget right now? What can I put in the trash can? That was what a therapist told me at a hospital that I worked at. And what can I pick back up? And like, I have notes all over my desk. So I try to kind of throw the things down that are hard and pick them back up. And not carry them around with me when I
Yeah.
don't need to.
That's funny. I told my wife that yesterday, actually. I was going to the doctor. She said, "What was your, you know, heart rate or whatever?" So I tell her the numbers. She's like, "Wow, that's so good." And I was like, "Yeah, because like anywhere I go, I'm pretty chill." And I was like, what I do, kind of similar to what you just said, Aaron, is like life could be lifing. I could have just cried 3 minutes ago, and then you get live, and then that moment doesn't even work. Like you're just in the moment. Good thing and bad thing, I would say.
Yeah, it is.
Um, I'm still
Yeah,
trying to work on it.
was right. Like I'm an emotional person. I let myself feel it strong and then I'm kind of back to work. Like I don't deny myself that. And I think that makes you good at what you do. Being able just to feel your emotion and be like, that's okay. And now it's okay if I'm back to work. Like I don't have to feel stuck or married to any emotion or problem. I can move forward.
That is funny. I am emotional as well, and I would sometimes start laughing to myself. I'm like, "Lord, it's my period." I got
Totally. I'll be like,
uh,
"Why am I crying?" Or I'll have to turn music off. Like, I have to stop doing things sometimes to keep myself on track.
that is so
Because
funny.
I'll get pulled into a sad moment real quick.
Real quick. I like it. Aaron, you have a question for our next guest. What is the question that you have?
It's so funny that this is how we're ending because I thought it's about me. So, like, I feel pretty strongly about a lot of things, and like I said, can be negative. So, my next question is like for the person is, what is your most like irrationally strong opinion? Like, what is the trivial thing that you will argue about every time? Because I have a million. So, like, that's a great thing to
That
do.
is so good. Listen, that is so good. I have friends that I just would not argue with because you know what? They just think they're right, and I'm gonna let you have your opinion on
This is
that.
the one that you would argue about, and there's no reason to do it, but you feel that strongly.
I love
So
it. Aaron, where can more people find information? You gave into the website. Is there
yeah.
socials? Can people
So
find you on
yeah.
LinkedIn as well?
So at VLink 211, we run 2112, which is the a health and human service line, again available anywhere in the country, usually in partnership with United Way, can provide any basic need resources. So we are at via link 211 on all of our social media. We also have a website where you can check out all of our data. If you love data, you can see like how many people access 988, what's the typical like needs that they might have. Again, it's non-identifiable data, but it shows you how things are being utilized and what the concerns are across the state. So yeah, vialink.com for all of that, and then at vialink211 on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Is it via
YouTube.
link.com or .org?
.org. You're right.
Okay, okay. Good. I'm looking. I'm like,
No,
is it .org? All right, cool, cool. Making sure I wasn't the wrong one here.
yeah, and in Louisiana, 988 Louisiana has a website too that we that OBH, the Office of Behavioral Health, runs. So if there's anybody that would want to know more about the whole 988 across the state, that's a great resource as well.
Well, Erin, thank you so much for being who you are, just always being authentically you. This is the second time that we've been able to have a conversation, and I loved it just as much today. May you continue to do the amazing work. May you continue to
Yeah.
fertilize the future. May you continue to never give up, and be reminded why you do it. Those stories, I think, while we get emotional and sometimes we get so caught up in these feelings and asking ourselves, why am I still doing it? Those moments always remind us why we still do it. So shout outs to that story. Shout outs to those that are still watching. Make sure that you guys do like, subscribe, and comment. And again, via link.org if you want to find out any more things that is happening with Via Link and what is Erin talking about. There's so many different resources that you guys can actually check that we didn't even talk about today.
Mm.
But this is what we love to do, is just have these conversations. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know. Today we helped you. I'm Efrain. This is Erin. We'll catch you on the next one. Later.